A lot of us have been speaking about this on social media. We've all seen the memes, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into the mechanics, psychology, and legalities linked to romance fraud. I think quite often we have these conversations online. They're very sensationalist. Everybody gives their opinions, but we never get down into the facts. So that is what we're trying to do today. And to help me understand the law around romance fraud, I am joined by Chris Dorr, QC barrister, author of Justice on Trial and co-host of BBC One's Crime Are We Tough Enough? Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi, Richie.
I'm really happy to have you and your expertise. We're going to be trying to sort out what was going on this show because my mind is blown.
Well, I'll tell you what, Richie, I was in Jamaica a few weeks back, so we can talk about that. But there were some women out there who were saying that, show me the money. But there was a lot of guys. There was a lot of guys also saying that they weren't quite sure what's going on with the women wanting the money too.
So Chris, have you seen the Tinder Swindler program?
I have.
Talk to me about it. What did you think?
Yeah. Well, listen, I've been a criminal lawyer for almost 30 years, and I've seen so many like fraud cases and swindles. And to be honest with you, nothing surprises me. I mean, it didn't really surprise me because fraudsters, they look for one thing. They look for weakness, and they look for someone who's perhaps a little bit vulnerable. And if they find someone in that state, they'll take advantage of it. And that's exactly what happened in the show.
So I know you're a criminal lawyer and you deal with fraud cases often, but when you were watching the show, was there anything about it that just took you aback? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Well, I think no, not really, because as I say, it's a world I know too well. You know, I've just seen so many people that have been taken in, even people who are really clever, they're really bright, they've got great jobs, and you think, how the hell have they done that? And they've given their life savings to someone they met like last week. So it happens, and you know, people almost get hypnotised by a really good fraudster. I mean, good's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Someone who's really good at scamming. Yeah. You know, they almost hypnotise people, and people just have no idea until it's over. Just how wrong it all is.
So, Chris, talk to me. Where do you think this myth comes from that only stupid people get scammed?
Well, I think that's what people say when it hasn't happened to them. So I think you know it doesn't happen to most people. I mean, there's a lot of fraud out there, and lots of people getting ripped off and scammed every single day. But it just, you know, because it doesn't happen to most people. I think most people think, well, it couldn't happen to me. The truth of it is, in the right situation, in the right stage of their lives, when they're desperate for something, they're desperate for love, they're desperate for, you know, a job, they're desperate for friendship, whatever it might be, people will come in and take advantage of that, and they will use those emotions to get money. And it's a horrible, cynical thing. And the victims are utterly destroyed by it when it happens. They're completely bereft because they thought they had an emotional connection with someone, and that person just ripped them off.
It was all a lie.
All a lie.
So some things can be completely unethical, but not illegal, right? So we look at these things and say, oh, that should be illegal, but they aren't always. They're horrible things, but they aren't always illegal. So in regards to this instance, where do the actions of this swindler stand if they were to be committed in England, and why?
They're illegal fraud. I'll tell you why, because fraud is really straightforward. If you lie to someone to get money out of them, that's fraud. So if I say, you know, as the Tinder swindler was saying to these women, I just need the money for a few days, I'm going to get the money back, you know, I'm rich. All of the lies that he was telling to these women, those lies were only told so that he could get them to pay him money. So that is absolute bog standard, straightforward fraud. You lie to someone to get money out of them, that's fraud.
This is why we've got you on, Chris, because there's a lot of myths flying around. Does this only happen to rich people?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think the women in the programme were rich particularly.
I don't know, compared to me, Chris.
Well, you know, one of them, I think she said she had 10,000 in her life savings. And what happened with the women in the programme, of course, was, and this is where people need to really, like, alarm bells need to ring. It's not just that they were handing over their own money. He was persuading them to take out loans and credit cards. And, you know, they were getting into debt to the tune of £200,000 plus. Now, if someone's telling you, and I'm a billionaire, which this guy was doing, and I want you to take out a credit card for 10 grand, let's be honest, there should be some alarm bells ringing.
I mean, klaxons even, sirens, like the Thames barrier, or air raid sirens. Can you talk to me about, like, you say it's not rich people, and you know you used a number like hundreds of thousands of pounds being taken out in loans. What happens to somebody after that happens? So I'm just imagining these people are in debt and are just in debt for the rest of their lives now.
Yeah, they will be, because you know the problem is that they are the ones that have applied for the loan. So you know, if and this is the whole point, of course, is that he wants people with clean credit history. He's looking for a particular type. They want someone that might have a few quid of their own, but equally importantly, they've got a decent job. They can get credit. So unfortunately, if you take out a credit agreement in your name and you give the money to someone else, the chances are you're going to be liable for the lot. So, you know, once again, you know, if you've only just met someone a few weeks ago and they say, lend me $100,000 that you haven't got, then my advice is, you know, pretty straightforward. Just tell them, hold on a minute, you know, there's just no way.
I know what he did was wrong, but did what the women did, would that be considered a crime too, in terms of like taking money out of false pretenses?
Yeah, it could be, you know, because, you know, you can't get off the hook by saying that, you know, he dissuaded me, I loved him, and this is why I did it. If someone's told lies to get credit, you know, if they've not told the truth about what the money was for when they ask, then the person who applies for the credit could be done for fraud. So not just the guy they've given the money to, but they could find themselves in trouble for fraud, but also they'll owe all the money because they've signed their name at the bottom, on the bottom line there, and they've said, I'll pay you back the $50,000 or the $100,000, and you're going to have to pay it back. They're going to keep coming at you. They're not going to let you off. So don't take out a loan and give it to someone else, because you know you won't be able to get away with it.
And we did see the faking of pay slips and bypassing security checks. So I guess you know you've got to question what you're doing in these instances as well.
Well, that's it, and that is fraud. You know, as I said to you before, if you lie to get money, that's fraud. So they're lying. They're saying I earn $10,000 a month when I actually don't, and they're lying about what they're going to use the money for. You know, those women who did that, they committed fraud themselves. Now, as I say, they're grown ups. They're grown women. They can't say, oh, you know, I'm a kid, I was manipulated into it, it's not my fault. If you sign a loan agreement, you better make sure that you're willing to pay it back.
The hard line. Gris, I'm choking there because I'm in shock. Victims of romance frauds generally pursue civil litigation rather than criminal proceedings. What's the difference between the two, and why is this?
Well, I'm not so sure that they do often pursue civil. I'll tell you why. So civil litigation is when you sue someone, you know, you take them to a civil court and you try and get money out of them. Now, a criminal case is a prosecution for fraud where you can go to jail. So I actually think most of these women probably do want the person who's done this to go to jail. The problem is, and it happened with the Tinder Swindler, as we saw on the show, not giving too much away, but it's really, really hard to find someone who's got false names, false passports, who travels all over the world in private jets, paid for by someone else. You know, it's really hard to track that person down. Yeah. So you know, I have to say, unless you can get the person arrested in the country where it happened, the chances are he's going to get away with it, you know, because it's really, really tricky, you know, to get people back from a lot of countries, particularly when they use 2 or 3 different names and, you know, nobody knows who they are from one day to the next.
And do you think the victims of romance fraud have a specific profile? Because you said people like this look out for certain types of people. Is there a specific profile, or in your professional expertise, you've seen lots of different types of people fall victim to this?
Yeah, I think there is the profile, as I kind of summarised it earlier, is someone who desperately wants something from another human being. Now, that might be love, it might be friendship. As I say, it might be that they think someone's going to help their career, but they desperately want something from someone else. You know, they might want to make money. You know, that might be a motivation sometimes before. But the truth of it is that, you know, these con men, and they're mostly men, but not always, these con men can spot a mile off the type of person that they can get wrapped around their little finger in a short space of time and get them to hand over money. And, you know, I just, you know, simple advice to anyone out there. There's so much fraud out there, Richie. Honestly, it's like an epidemic out there in Britain at the moment. And all, you know, many people listening to this will either have been the victims or they're at risk of it. You know, if you ever give money to anyone, or you sign your name to something, or even if you tick a box online, look at what you're putting your name to, because you might end up being the victim of a scam and you don't even know it. So just be really careful, particularly anything to do with bank details. Don't hand them over to people that you don't know. You categorically have to know them well enough to trust them with your life, or don't give them your bank details.
Great advice there, Chris. And I've had people approach me previously, like, will you be a guarantor for a loan? Absolutely not. It's never going to happen. No. Producer Akeem is standing in front of me, also doing, you know that chop thing that you do with your neck? Like, never. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I think he's right for getting ripped off. I spoke to him before. I think he's definitely going to be the next victim.
You think he's... I wish you could hear him laughing right now. He's falling about laughing.
He thinks I'm a real lawyer, Richie. Like, he thinks you've got someone who actually knows what you're talking about. I could be anyone. This could be a scam.
Well, you're a very good scam artist, like you said, Chris. Now we're on that, I've got the final question for you, and it's a moral one, right? What do you make of the Tinder swindler becoming a celebrity off of the back of this show? Because I've seen him doing loads of different things, but somebody who's doing this, who is defrauding people, and we celebritize these people, what is your perception of this, given what you work in?
Yeah. My perception is that that's a very, very stupid thing for him to do, because the one thing you can guarantee, someone who's committed serious crime, who looks for publicity and sort of takes pleasure in publicity, there's only one place they're going to end up, Richie, and we all know where it is, don't we? He's going to end up in jail for a long, long time. So he can enjoy his moment in the sun, his Instagram, for 5 minutes, but I'll tell you what, if he carries on like that, it won't be long before they pull him in one country after another, and he spends many, many years in jail.
Chris Dawes QC, thank you so much for joining us today. You've really opened our eyes.
Cheers, Richie. Have a good show.
Thank you. Great having you on the show.